NFL history is littered with rule changes and developments. The rules really help make the game safer and more organized, so allow me to give you the names of 10 NFL players responsible for rule changes. Number 10, Brett Favre. Everybody remembers Brett Favre's famous touchdown celebration. On January 26, 1997, Brett Favre scored his famous touchdown and ran off the field in joy. What got him into trouble, though, was the fact that he took off his helmet while he was still on the field. Even though he's a brilliant player who is known for his collection of having almost every NFL passing record, the NFL management were not pleased with his actions. In fact, his actions inspired a new rule in the 1997 NFL offseason that banned players from taking off their helmets on the field, especially during touchdown celebrations. This rule is also known as the Emmitt Smith because he also had the habit of taking off his helmet on the field to celebrate after every touchdown. Now, as bad as it sounds, it was done to maintain safety and decorum on the field. Number 9, Tom Dempsey. If you are an NFL fan, you've probably heard of Tom Dempsey. The legend Tom Dempsey is one of the best players in the game. He achieved the longest field goal in NFL history at 63 yards. All while having a deformed foot. Isn't that amazing? After his grand achievement, some people, though, were not too happy. The media and some other players claim that Dempsey had an unfair advantage due to his specially designed shoe. After a lot of controversy, the NFL passed a rule in 1977. It was called the Tom Dempsey Rule. Imagine being so famous you have an entire rule named after you. The rule dictated that if a player wears a shoe on his artificial leg, it must have a kicking surface that is similar to that of a normal kicking shoe. Even though Dempsey fans weren't happy, the rule does kind of make a lot of sense. Number 8, Morris Stroud. With a height that measures a whopping 6 feet 10 inches, Morris Stroud is one of the tallest players in NFL history. He is also known as the tallest tight end. Throughout his career, Stroud has been an extremely hard-working team player. He is also known for his special teams play as a field goal blocker. And even though Stroud didn't experience a lot of success in his NFL career, he did have a rule named after him. This was because of his legendary goal blocking techniques. Stroud would just stand by the goalpost and block it when it was going through the uprights. This was hugely different from techniques that other players used to employ. People were not happy with Stroud's way of defending the post, and the NFL soon released a new rule known as the Stroud Rule. This rule prohibits any player from deflecting kicks as it passes above the crossbar of a goalpost. Kinda makes sense, right? Number 7, Mel Blount. Another NFL player responsible for a major change of the rules is Mel Blount. Blount is known as one of the greatest cornerbacks in NFL history. Since he is more than 6 feet tall, very few players were ever able to get past him. And you won't believe it, but he absolutely abused opposing wide receivers. Not only this, he was also a part of the Steel Curtain defense in Pittsburgh. Is there anything that this man hasn't done? The NFL passed a rule that prevented any defensive player from jamming an offensive player 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. This came as a relief to all opposing wide receivers who had to face Blount in the game. If the defensive player failed to adhere to this rule, they would be charged with a defensive pass interference. And as expected, the rule became known as the Mel Blount Rule. Number 6, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning carries one of the best no-huddle offenses in the NFL, but NFL made things a little difficult for him when they created a rule in 2009 that placed the umpire 12 feet off of the line of scrimmage instead of the usual 5 or 7 feet. This resulted in the umpire taking more time to gauge the spot of the ball and get into position. Manning did not appreciate the new rule, and you won't believe it, but he actually drew 2 penalties during the 2009 presentation when he was trying to do his hurry-up offense. The NFL just wanted to protect the umpires and reduce collisions between the players and the umpires. But the rule also resulted in the reduction in effectiveness of hurry-up offenses. Number 5, Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson is a great player, but he is particularly famous for having a sharp tongue. He's super famous for being outspoken and has also coined the famous statement, "Gimme the damn ball." When he was drafted as number 1 overall by the New York Jets in the 1996 NFL Draft, wide receivers had been restricted to the numbers 80 to 89. But Johnson, being the rebel that he is, chose to wear number 19, even though he knew he would receive penalties for it. Looks like Johnson just really liked the number 19. Who knows, maybe he thought it would bring him luck. And in 2004, because of this incident and a couple of other factors, NFL decided to bend the rules for Johnson. They now allowed wide receivers to wear the numbers 10 through 19, in addition to 80 to 89. Looks like Johnson's sharp tongue really did get him what he wanted. Number 4, R.C. Owens. In the old NFL days, players usually didn't get what they want. This is because the NFL administration was pretty strict, and once rules were made, they had to be followed strictly. But R.C. Owens was one of the first players to make some exceptions. In 1947, the NFL adopted a one-year rule. This rule placed restrictions on the team's ability to automatically renew a player's contract to just a single year. This was being done by teams to exploit players and automatically renew their contracts to an indefinite period of time. This also made the players extremely dependent on the owners. As a result of this rule, R.C. Owens became the first player in NFL history to change teams in 1963. Sounds pretty great, right? But what's even more impressive is that Owens lobbied relentlessly for this rule to be passed and helped pave the way for other players to experience more freedom within the game. Number 3, Roy Williams. Roy Williams has been an influential player both on and off the field. When he played for the Dallas Cowboys, he was a strong tackler and was famous for his bone-crushing hits. He usually tackled from the safety position, but would also use his horse collar tackle. Yes, this tackle looks just as crazy as it sounds. You'd be surprised to know that during the horse collar tackle, the player tackles the handler by the horse collar. Sounds kind of painful, right? Well, people were okay with the tackle, but it soon started producing some serious injuries. Players like Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb suffered some serious blows because of this, and the NFL decided to finally pass a rule prohibiting it. The horse collar rule was passed in 2006, and it was all because of Roy Williams. After this rule was passed, no more players fell victim to Williams' savage tackles. The players must have been pretty thankful for that one. Number 2, Ty Law. As one of the best cornerbacks in the early 2000s, Ty Law is known for being one of Peyton Manning's favorite receivers. And if you followed the NFL, you must be well acquainted with his excellent skills in sportsmanship. He was also known for his rough physical play against receivers at the line of scrimmage. In fact, he was so aggressive that the Colts complained against him and the NFL decided to strictly enforce a 5-yard illegal contact rule during the 2003 NFL playoffs. He was so rough, other players from his own team were scared of him. Isn't that crazy? After this rule, things calmed down for a little bit, but his classic aggressive play still shined through every time he entered the field. There are truly some character traits that you just can never get rid of. Number 1, Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer was a rising star during the 2005 NFL season, but with his hard work, he was able to make a name for himself pretty quickly. You must have heard about when he secured a first-round bye for the Cincinnati Bengals. Another one of his famous moments included throwing a touchdown pass to Chad Johnson on the first possession during the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Palmer soon made a strong name for himself, but tragedy struck in the game against the Steelers when Kimo von Oelhoffen, their defensive tackle, tackled Palmer below the knee. This fractured Palmer's ACL and MCL. It also ended his season as he was deemed medically unfit to play games for a while. And after this sad incident, the NFL decided to implement rules that prevented defensive players from hitting the quarterback at or below the knee. These rules were revised in 2008 and became even stricter to protect players like Palmer. So what do you think? Which of these are your favorite players? Are you surprised by the amount of rules? Do you think that some of these are too harsh? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.